Hello everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Winds of Change. So, we had a couple of breaks actually. I mentioned this in the comments, and I figured I'd say it here on screen as well. I'm planning to go back to one episode a day, because if I do one episode a day and one quest each episode, if we go back to that, then that does mean that I'll actually have all of this finished before I start work at the end of this month, which kind of works out quite nicely. So, fingers crossed, we will kind of be having another nice long slog of an episode a day. But we're going to speak to Cowlin for this next quest, and I've got a new build. Yeah, I just spent like an hour getting these skills and sorting myself out. Earthshaker is so annoying to capture. You either have to keep zoning into various areas in Eye of the North, hoping that the worm Jorgamander is going to spawn so you can get from him, or you go on this massive long trek through the snake dance that just takes ages and ages and ages. There are loads of other bosses in the game, but they only spawn with quests, which, what do you know, we've already completed. So, But anyway, we've got Earthshaker. The reason why I'm going with this bar for now is I said a couple of episodes ago I wanted to change it, and also when I played through with Mike, we found Earthshaker is really nice for the next quest, because there's lots of tight balls of enemies that you can just jump in on, and hopefully, if everything goes well, I've not actually played with this bar yet, should be able to just knock down and everything should be okay. But it's an interesting quest coming up, and it's interesting for the lore as well. So we're going to speak to Cowlin, and he reminds us to be in hard mode, which I already am. And he says, good timing. I've gotten wind of something that the Jade Brotherhood has been up to, and I find it worrisome. They've had several ships coming into Saitung Harbour, which is unusual for them. I can only imagine that they're trying to get something in without either the Imperial Guard or the Ministry of Purity noticing. Even the optimist in me can't find anything good in that. You see, it says here, Saitung Harbour in green. That does mean we'll be playing in Saitung Harbour, but we zone into the area with our 8-man party, so you don't have to worry about going back down to 6-man just yet. Whatever they're up to, he says, we need to stop them. I can make preparations for your travel post-haste. Just let me know as soon as you're ready. Whatever they think they're hiding, it won't get by me, or maybe they're just interested in some recreational sailing. I love that idea. See, this is another thing. Winds of Change never went back to the Crimson Skull, which were a really interesting other faction that was introduced in factions. You know, these were the original pirates, but then later they kind of got turned up for the Corsairs, and even like the Luxons were hinted at being pirates a long time ago. So we don't hear anything about them in Winds of Change either, which is a bit of a shame. And obviously the Marganites as well. We heard about another seafaring. We didn't really hear that the Marganites were pirates, just a seafaring group of people, but still. Anyway, yeah, let's they're not going to be able to hide from us, so let's go on in. Deadly cargo. What we do for the glory of the Canthan Empire. Let's do it. Whatever the Jade Brotherhood's up to, I know two things for certain. It isn't good and needs to be stopped. Are you ready to go? Yeah. Oh, I'm harbouring a lot of doubt. Did you see that? Oh, puns. Lovely. So we're going to come to Saitung. This is like a battle version, explorable version of the outpost, so you get to actually fight here. I think this is the first time outside of festival quests and like the Dragon Festival that you can do this, but it's pretty cool to be able to come here. So the Jade Brotherhood Demolitionist here says, we've been spotted. Demolitionists, keep planting those explosives. If they try to stop you, you know what to do. Demolitionists, they're going to try and destroy the harbour. We need to stop them. I can't remember why they even explained that the Jade Brotherhood are attacking here. This quest feels very filler, if I remember rightly. But yeah, so the idea of this quest is you've got these demolitionists, right? And they will just kamikaze on you. They have a special monster skill that's going to be very loud and you'll be able to hear it. I turn game volume down really low during this Let's Play. Actually, I feel like maybe a little bit too low. But these explosions are really freaking loud the way that I set up my my audio settings. So you'll hear it when they go off, and they can, in theory, if you've got just a bit of death penalty, I suppose, or even if you've got too many runes on you, and they get, say, right in here where Norgu stood and he blew up, he'd probably wipe the whole team. They can be very, very dangerous, which is why things like Shelter are very nice, and which is also why it's nice in this quest to shadow step in. You see I've got Death Charge. It's going to be nice to shadow step into these tight little groups here, and the Demolitionists will probably blow up on me if they're not nuked down in the first place, which is really cool. So we'll try it out. Mike was doing all this role before. I was just playing as my Mesmer, so we'll see what happens. Like I said, I've never played as this build before, but my idea is to just simply jump in, full Great Justice, crude swing. And let's see what happens. And then Earthshaker, and then Whirlwind Attack, and then Earthshaker, and then Crude Swing, and then Earthshaker. Oh, I didn't quite have the adrenaline there. But that kind of worked. Maybe I got a little bit low there, but it kind of worked. The assassin didn't aggro on me. Whew, that worked quite well though. Okay, but it was probably going to take a little bit of focus for me to get used to this. This is probably a better shaker build than I was using on Peter Redhill, to be fair. The main difference though is this quest is particularly nice because like these guys aren't patrolling or moving around. You can always get those nice balls. Obviously when we were playing as Peter as an Earthshaker, we were fighting loads of enemies that were spreading out all over the place, and it didn't always work so nicely. Obviously I'm an assassin. I'm getting the benefit of critical strikes here, which is why I have critical agility, mostly for the increased attack speed, but also the come on, here we go. Shit, see, no, and don't target any of the melee. There you go. There's one of the explosions. Lovely. Now, if you manage to kill those guys with that, oh shit. Yeah, and then okay, so there were 2 demolitionists in that group. Okay, I'm gonna have to surrender. Am I gonna have to resign? Has Livia got a heal? She hasn't got a resurrect. Okay, fine. I'm gonna have to resign. So yeah. I suppose that demonstrates just how dangerous these things are then. Yeah, that's what the demolitionists can do if you're not careful. Ideally, you should really be flagging apart through every engage. I mean, I might, if I resort to... If it gets really hard, and that happens a few times, I might end up doing that. And what I'll do is like do post commentary or something, just so that I can focus really clearly on the gameplay. It's throwing me off a little bit for a second here though, because like I'm not... I don't know, maybe my skill order's a little bit off. But yeah, generally this is just this quest. You're going to be fighting loads of these groups. In fact, I'm really tempted to do post commentary. Yeah, I'm going to do post commentary. I'll hand you guys over to me in a little while. So I'll see you in a sec. In a little while, he says. Hi, it's about 3 hours later. So this quest is for a few reasons harder than I found it when we played it with Mike, and it didn't go too well all the time. It's a very, very frustrating quest. You'll see what I've done here is I cut together all not necessarily the best bits of what I was doing while I was playing through it, but the majority of, you know, just a successful run. So I think I loaded into this quest about 6 times, all fails continued. 2 fails, by the way, being at the very end, and one of them being because of a bug with a character that's going to appear later. It's just a little bit ridiculous. But after a while, I got very, very good at engaging these groups and going in there like it really, really well. You'll see my skill bar slowly changes in different ways as the episode goes along. The first big cut you'll see is Asuran Scan popping up on there instead of Mighty Blow. I really found that I was never using Mighty Blow. It was a bit useless on the bar, and I quickly realised, I think in fact there on that engage where I died, well no, there is because I forgot to unflag my heroes. That happened a few times. I don't know, maybe I'm just not with it today, but I found out on one of these engages that I tried to use Earthshaker and I was blind, or I was blocked. Blind is the big one really, and if they do manage to blind you, obviously, even though it's an AoE attack, and you kind of, just by the nature of the skill, you'd expect it to attack everyone anyway, even if you miss your main target doing the actual damage. It doesn't work like that. If you're blocked on the one hit, then just everybody will stand. There you go, there's the cut. And now I have Asuran Scan, and you can watch me do this engage again, which is probably coming across quite hard to you guys at the moment because I've wiped on it twice, and it's far, far easier. It's actually not too bad. A lot of these engages are very simple if you get the skill order right. There you go, I was blind, you see, and I went to Asuran Scan straight away. And you can just knock people down. This build is really, really good with the AoE stuff. But if you fail this, there were countless occasions where you see my skill order there, where it's Crude Swing, then Whirlwind Attack, then Earthshaker. I originally set that up because I was like, oh right, okay, well I can just sort of rotate between Earthshaker on the right and then the skill that's, you know, either Crude Swing or Whirlwind Attack as they're recharged or ready to be used. And that's kind of how I set it up. But later on, you'll see my skill bar changes again, and I swap the locations of Earthshaker and Whirlwind Attack just so that I can mindlessly click from left to right of my skill bar, and it did make it easier. I stopped screwing up so much because one missed Earthshaker can screw you over. It really can. Except, now here's the other key thing you should really be doing that you won't see me do until like the final cut right at the end, which I kind of learned made this much easier, okay? And it's something so obvious, but you'd be surprised how helpful it is. Just open up your Soul Twister skill bar if you're using a Soul Twister, and just micro up Shelter, Union, and whatever the other spirit is, I can't remember, and Displacement. Micro those up, and then you'll be fine, because you jump in, and even if you miss one of the Earthshakers, excuse me, or something really weird happens or something goes wrong, you'll still be fine because you can survive a lot longer. Now, this is a particularly dangerous issue, and look at my compass right now. Look at all these groups. They're all individual groups, right? And they overlap one another. ArenaNet were quite harsh with their positioning of mobs in this quest, because you can't always just simply jump in on a group, Earthshaker them, completely shut them down 100%. Panic's really nice, by the way. When I was playing this with Mike, we were wondering whether we should be using Earthshaker and Panic. Panic is nice because you can see it really being quite effective after like the second knockdown, if everybody's still kind of standing up and going. It is really, really quite nice, and it just shuts a single group down perfectly. perfectly. So if you get the good engage, it's easy as anything. You'll just spike them out and you'll be fine. But ArenaNet have made it so that you can't always just jump in on the one group and be fighting just them. You'll find that a couple of points, I think there's 2 different scenarios in this quest where you'll jump in on one group. One of them's coming up here, and you're going to aggro 2 other groups as well, and their exact positions seem to be randomized slightly, as in every single time you zone in they'll be moved slightly, and sometimes it will mean you don't aggro everyone at once, but it'll always be right on the edge of earshot regardless. And microing up shelter and union and displacement means that you can go in there and survive. Like one of the times I was going through this quest, this group I'm fighting right now was close enough to the like the water over there that I couldn't jump in on that one group without aggroing those 2 other groups nearby. And it can be very, very, very tricky. I wasn't microing at this point, but as soon as you start to do it, you should be far better. It's a finicky mission, and it's so clutch as well, because you might not necessarily be doing that badly, and the groups might not be out of your ability to kill them. But if you have a slightly bad engage, if one of the demolitionists decides that he's not going to aggro on you, and you've been stupid and decided you're not going to flag everyone apart, which is what I did, you'll find yourself completely screwed over. You really will, because did you see what happened there as well? I went into shadow step on an assassin and he shadow stepped to me, so I didn't move anywhere. Make sure you target in the actual backline as well, otherwise you have a bad engage like this. But yeah, I mean, flagging apart, definitely I'd recommend it. You won't see me doing it here at all, but I would recommend it still. And really that's most of what there is to say about the gameplay. I mean, there's certain... earlier I mentioned a bug. Basically, you know what they do with the portals here, where obviously we're in an instance version of what is usually an outpost that you can usually walk through those portals. Well, now you can't walk through the portals, so they kind of just put invisible barriers there in front of where these portals usually would be. Now, on my the first run when I first got to that location, you'll see we get an maybe I should talk about this when we actually get the ally, but yeah, something's going to happen later, and NPCs actually spawned inside that solid wall, but then the ally got stuck in the solid wall as well, and like I'm not 100% sure whether that actually fully broke the mission, but it was really, really annoying because then you didn't manage to have the ally with you, who in some circumstances can be bad anyway, but I won't get onto that too much. So yeah, the next little while you'll see me just trying to kill these groups here. This is really tough, this bit here, because you've got those guys down on the beach, but if you want to walk towards them to get to them on the beach, you have to go past those guys at that intersection. So you could go around the other side and try and clear them, which might be recommended, but I didn't try that. I was going to just try and shadow step straight down over the cliff, wipe out that group, and then move to those ones on the stairs there, because you can't just walk to them without aggroing more than one group in any situation. So the plan here, you'll see me like trying to figure it out. I was going to try and shadow step myself in and flag my heroes to the edge of the cliff, and they have to be flagged close enough to the edge of the cliff so that they know that they can cast spells on that group down there, but they also have to be flagged in the first place, otherwise they're just going to run around the side. And as you can see there, I just got blown up instantly. Now there's a cut there, right? And now I'm just on the beach and pretty much everything's dead. That represents about 20 minutes of gameplay of me pissing about trying to kill this group and get a good engage. And it just slowly went on and on and on. And slowly I found that I just whittled that group down to pretty much nothing. And so we just killed them, and I made the... It's a crappy cut there because you don't really see me fight that one mob. But you're really not missing out, guys. Because it was such a slow, gradual thing. This episode would be like 40 minutes long if I wasn't careful. There was another cut there, was there? Oh no, so then I shadow stepped up and this character appears. Yay, Miku, what a surprise. So Miku's here. I think she actually had some dialogue. Did that just pop up on the screen, but I didn't read it? She does have some dialogue. That will definitely be in the description if it wasn't there. But yeah, she'll appear when you go to the docks. It is recommended to clear out as many things as you want before you come towards the docks. That way she won't appear. She can be annoying because she obviously doesn't obey party flags. And when you're trying to get perfect, tight little engages like this, she can run in and screw things up. Don't be too scared, though. If she dies, she'll respawn, and that's not going to be a big problem for you. Yeah, I think this is a good engage that I caught on camera. I had a lot of these, just so that we're clear, right? I played through this, like I say, about 6 times. I had a lot of good engages. But yeah, so I think you'll see here, she kills that guy and then runs forward. Actually, it might be the next group that I go for. And I shit myself. I'm not ready for it. She's ran in on her own. I think she's going to die and we're going to fail the quest. That's not actually failure. She will respawn for you, which is awesome because this mission, as I say, is so clutch anyway that you can just instantly be spiked out for the tiniest little mistake. Yeah, there you go. So I moved back and then she... Oh, it's just terrible. And obviously the the problem here is I'm trying to fight this one group, but there's 3 so close, and I've aggroed those guys on my right, and this just kind of becomes a bit of a messy fight. A lot of them became messy. They really did. The main thing when I was playing with Mike, I mentioned earlier that it was a bit harder than when I was going with Mike. That's because if you have 2 humans, you can have the human that's like playing a caster role continuously move, so that Miku follows that human, and she doesn't mess up any of these engages. She's not too bad for messing stuff up, honestly. In fact, if anything, she can be quite nice if you can work it out so that she jumps in first and she takes all of the hits, and then she dies, and it's not a problem. That could work. It wasn't something that I was really playing to as a strength, I suppose, of her. She's nice. I mean, she could quite easily have become like that assassin we saw last episode that was really irritating because when they die, it's quest failure. Miku's not like that, which is cool, which is good, because I think you're obviously supposed to like Miku as a character, and adding like bullshit gameplay stuff like that will probably ruin it. Another cut there, that's because the cut that I had there was when Miku got stuck in that gate I'm next to, and I ended up cutting it out. This is my next run, and there I think, oh no, my skill bar still hasn't changed. My skill bar will change before the end of this, though, I'm sure. I must have wiped on this run as well. So I've kind of stitched it all together for your viewing pleasure, guys. And yeah, the last group are actually over on those docks, a little bit out of the way, but there's like 3 groups together there as well that you've got to be careful of, and I wiped there a few times. But yeah, there was a couple of things I wanted to mention to you guys. First, a little update, I suppose, on the lore summary thing I'm doing. I've got that written out. I've got a first draft. I've like refined that as well. I suppose you could say I'm on a second draft now, but it's kind of a much more iterative, for use of that word, process at the moment, where I'm slowly tweaking things, taking feedback from people, seeing how it is. My artist is drawing away. She's drawing like mad, so this is pretty awesome. I don't know when she'll be ready. It could be still up to, a fortnight away. I really have no idea. It could be longer than that. I'm not going to try and pressure her too much, but just so that you guys know, that has been going forward. I was having a lot of fun writing for it, a lot of fun, and it was very cool. Oh no, yeah, my skill bar has changed now. Yeah, because now, as you can see, I can just use skills from left to right, and it made this easy. You see how I microed up Shelter and Union and stuff? I wiped here before because I didn't micro those up, and you will die because you're against like 2, or I think it's actually only 2 groups, but the demolitionists like can be aggroed separately, and they look a bit like a 3rd group on the minimap when they're not really. But yeah, you do that, and as you can see, it was actually a pretty simple engage, and with all things considered when I was finished. But yeah, so there's that with the lore summaries, and there was something else I was going to say. Oh yeah, if I had more time, I was going to talk to you about a game I've started playing, Legend of Grimrock. I've been playing through that, a bit of like an old school dungeon crawler. Having a lot of fun with that. But yeah, maybe I'll save some anecdotes for that for next episode, because we're about to be done. This quest did take me quite a while when I first played it, because I didn't quite realise that they were up here on the docks, but once you've killed this group, it will trigger the end of the quest. I should probably full screen my editing software so that I can actually see what Miku says. We're going to have a little bit of a conversation with her. Like I say, feels like a bit of a filler quest. They never explain why the Jade Brotherhood are trying to blow this harbour up. They're just being arseholes, I guess. Miku says that appears to have been the last of them. Are you unharmed? We definitely did miss some dialogue with her, sorry, when she first meets us. That will be in the description. Sorry about that, guys. And we say, I'm fine. Fighting the Jade Brotherhood is nothing new for me. How's your search gone? Well, fighting the Jade Brotherhood might not be new, but then with so many massive explosions is new. But anyway, Miku says, I search for answers and I only find more questions. Jinnai is gone, so this was her friend. No one knows where or what has happened to him, and that tells me one thing for certain. What he knows is dangerous. So someone's got a hold of him, maybe? This was the person she mentioned, like, right at the start of part 2. She says, if he's fled, then I may need to find him before Reiko does. I will continue my search. Will you be alright on your own? What could Jinnai know? See, this is the question. And we say, I can handle myself, don't worry about that. You take care of Jinnai. I'm going to try and put a stop to the aggression between the gangs and the Ministry of Fury. So we're going to split ways for a little bit. This part of the plot's a bit funny because she talks about these questions and stuff, but what kind of questions are we actually asking right now? We just know that we don't really like the Ministry of Fury, right? A show of her, I think you and I are going to work together just fine. Good luck out there, friend. I kind of like how this quest has us fighting Jade Brotherhood, because Winds of Change could have taken a bit of a weird turn where now we were on the Jade Brotherhood side. Well, actually, maybe that would have been a good idea if we'd end up being sort of on their side somehow, trying to get rid of the Ministry of Purity or something, and sort of restoring the balance that was there between the gangs in Cantha before, when we started 8 years ago. Was it 8 years ago? I think it might be 7 years, actually. Oh, an interesting fact for you, actually. Oh, yeah, this is the thing. Right, with Winds of Change, part 1 of Winds of Change takes place in the same year as Warring Kryta, which is 7 years since Factions, essentially, because Factions takes place in the same year as Prophecies. But then part 2 and part 3 of Winds of Change actually take place in the year after. which would then lead it to 8 years ago, which is kind of cool. And that's very similar to what happens in factions as well. But Guardsman Cowlin says, trying to smuggle in explosives, this is quickly getting out of hand. Every time I think we're putting out a fire, it seems that we're just adding more fuel to start several more. I don't know what it's going to take to end this, but for now, we just have to do the best that we can. That's really all we can do. I refuse to give up faith, and I truly believe we can make things better. Well, there you go. I suppose they were trying to smuggle in explosives for some of their nefarious plans. That must be the idea of what the Jade Brotherhood are doing there. It does feel like a bit of a filler quest, though. But there you go, guys. That's this episode. I hope to see you tomorrow. I hope you guys enjoyed this one. And yeah, I'm going to go film Guild Wars 2 Daily. Have a nice day.